Hello, everyone. I'm here. My first Alex. Alex, New York Yankees are being linked with everyone and anything that moves. It feels like or breathes. If you are a pitcher and you have an arm that's functioning, the Yankees are linked to you. That's just kind of the way things are right now. Bob Nightingale linked us to Chris Paddock, who was just traded to the Tigers, and Pat Regazzo of Sports Illustrated just linked us to Dustin May, who is on the Dodgers, struggling a lot this year. So there's a lot we're going to get through in this show. Some stuff I have that I'll report on, and we'll talk about some of the public stuff too. But Alex, given where the Yankees are at this deadline, they've got Ryan McMahon, they've added Ahmed Rosario. How are you feeling today, and how are you feeling about the Yankees deadline to this point?
Well, I could be feeling better. I'll tell you that, man. I mean, listen, guys, doing well myself. Yankees have a lot of work to do. Ryan McMahon has been a very underrated acquisition so far. So I'll kind of eat crow a little on that one, saying I didn't realize just how good the defense was going to be. We saw Oswald Peraza there, and he's a good defensive player. Ryan McMahon is a step above Oswald Peraza in every single way. I mean, he saved the Yankees on multiple occasions these past, really the last game, not to mention the 2-run double that put the Yankees in a position to even win this game with the bullpen having finally a good appearance. But look, they have a left-handed hitting third baseman now. They got Ahmed Rosario. He's a bad defensive player, but he can play everywhere, and he's a good bat against left-handed pitching. So you have some utility piece. You have a starter at third base. This team needs arms like no tomorrow, Ryan. They need bullpen support ASAP. And I would say they're probably going to get a starting pitcher too. Like you said, they're being rumored and linked to every single possible player. This happens every deadline. It happens every winter. The Yankees are connected to this guy. They're connected to that guy. That just means they checked up on these players, which if you're a competent general manager like Brian Cashman is, you go and check up on every possible player to see what they would cost and really what their performance is like, maybe their health. Dustin May being the most recent one. Not a big Dustin May fan personally. I don't think he's much of a starter. He's been pitching like a starter this year in terms of innings, but maybe he's better as a reliever. We were linked to Jake Bird. That's one of my guys. I really like Jake Bird, and mainly because, well, the Rockies underutilized players, and I think Jake Bird has really good underlying metrics, and he would be a much better player if acquired, and a couple years of control at that. We were linked to Mackenzie Gore. I don't think we're going to go and get Mackenzie Gore. Obviously, Mitch Keller's another name out there. Seth Lugo signed a big extension today with the Royals. So, Ryan, looking at the situation at hand right now, we've heard the Yankees also want more right-handed batting, maybe an outfielder. They linked to Harrison Bader, another, excellent defensive outfielder. But if you go get Harrison Bader, do you need Trent Grisham? Do you flip Trent Grisham in that instance? What do you think about that?
Well, Alex, my understanding of this situation with the Yankees and their outfield is that their interest in a right-handed hitting outfielder or right-handed hitting player in general, it is related to whether they're going to trade one of their major league hitters or not. And sources are telling us here with Fireside Yankees and on this stream, the Yankees are open to trading one of their major league left-handed hitters. And that extends to JC Escarra, who we talked about already as a potential trade target. I don't know what specific teams are going to ask about JC Escarra. I know that the Padres displayed interest in the past. There was another National League team that displayed interest, but I don't believe they will be asking about JC Escarra based on their catching situation currently. I will also sit here and say, Alex, in regards to some of the outfielders, it feels like outside of Bellinger, it's open business or it's open season. I don't think the Yankees are going to take any of their non-Bellinger outfielders off the table. Bellinger, I don't know if I'd say untouchable, because I guess if a team was like, hey, here's Mackenzie Gore for Cody Bellinger, you could have him, but that's crazy. No one's going to do that. Nationals are not going to say that. But I am under the understanding that Bellinger's probably the safest outfielder, obviously outside of Judge, but in terms of lefty/switch hitters, he's the safest one of the group in terms of a potential trade. And yeah, that includes, Trent Grisham, and to an extent that might even include Jason Dominguez. We don't know. I'm not sitting here and saying Jason's going to get traded, but I don't think it's out of the picture that he gets traded. From my understanding, it's not completely impossible. Again, would take a lot. It's kind of like Ben Rice, where, yeah, Ben Rice is someone the Yankees will listen to, or they won't hang up a phone call or end a phone call on the word Ben or the word Rice, but it'll take a lot. So Grisham's probably the guy I would guess would get moved in that scenario. You can recoup your pitching. You can recoup and get pitching. You could potentially get a bullpen arm, a starter. I know Dylan Cease is out there, and, you think Dylan Cease for Trent Grisham, oh man, would that be a fit for the Padres offensively? Although I do have some questions about that. I don't know if the Padres would be fully in on that. Well, that's just me guessing though. Again, the Yankees, though, if they acquired someone like Bader, if they acquired someone like Austin Slater, if they went out and acquired Willie Castro, that would be, Alex, with the understanding that they have traded one of their left-handed hitters. Again, Escara, Grisham, Dominguez, and Rice, kind of long shots, but, out there. The guy I would guess out of all of that group, I would say JC Escara gets traded. Just based on what I'm hearing, based on my own situation. And obviously, let's be real here. You know what I mean? Catcher or outfielder? Which one do the Yankees replace better? Usually catcher. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that makes sense. And listen, you mentioned some of the left-handed batters and young pieces this team has. Obviously, Jason being a switch hitter. Do I think that he's untouchable? Absolutely not. I think Jason has the capacity to be an excellent, all-star caliber player for a very long time. I don't think the defense is ever going to be above average, but if he got to average, I think, his offensive stature will keep him afloat by a large portion. But Ryan, let's talk about Ben Rice for a second, because I know along with us and the rest of the Yankee fan base, we really like Ben Rice. Ben Rice is a really, really good player. And let me just give you some stats into why I think that the Yankees, honestly, if they were to sell on him right now, might be selling low. He ranks in the 90th percentile or better in average exit velocity, barrel percentage, hard hit percentage. He has a 283 expected batting average. Currently his actual is 229. He has an expected slugging of 542, which is currently 458. He's hitting only 229 with a 320 OBP this season, 778 OPS with 15 homers, and he's not getting everyday playing time. He is kind of your weird utility man of he's catching sometimes and he's playing first base sometimes, and you're really not DHing him unless Stanton is going up against right-handed pitching, and even then he's been great, Stanton, lately, so you can't take him out of the lineup. Ben Rice is the future at first base, in my opinion. If we're going to sit here and say, well, Jason Dominguez is the future in left field, we're going to live with the defensive lapses, I can say the same thing about Ben Rice, and I'd argue Ben Rice has generational power. You know what I mean? This is a guy that has elite power metrics across the board. I have no interest in trading Ben Rice. I think that he could be your future first baseman at a nominal cost with arbitration for the next 4.5 seasons, right? So Ryan, when you look at Ben Rice, I know he's one of your guys too. We've been watching Ben Rice before. Probably if you're listening to this podcast right now and you've been listening to Fireside Yankees for years, we were on top of Ben Rice in terms of his prospect projections in 2022. We were talking about this kid, and now he's here. He has excellent metrics, and everything he tells us, with those underlying metrics, is that he is gonna be an elite offensive threat. If he's playing every single day. So, Ryan, do you want to move Ben Rice in terms of if you could get controllable relief, or are you only really moving him in a package that gets you controllable starting pitching?
Yeah, for me at least, Ben Rice has to go for a stud. I fully concur with you on Ben Rice and his value. I wouldn't just trade him. In fact, I'm going to say something a little bit outlandish here. I would trade Jason Dominguez before I'm trading Ben Rice, just based on the positional versatility.
I don't think that's crazy. I was afraid to say it.
Catches,
but I think you're right.
Jason plays left, might not be able to play center, and kind of what I've gotten a little bit of inkling to understanding is that Spencer Jones has become a real enough force in that organization where it might make the Yankees comfortable trading Dominguez in the right package. And it makes them comfortable potentially trading someone like a Trent Grisham. It makes them comfortable, trading Grisham and knowing that Grisham, probably won't re-sign, and knowing that, basically they're comfortable with the idea of, we're going into 2026. Let's say we bring in one of Bellinger, we bring in one of Tucker, but I don't think the Yankees are going to view Spencer Jones as trade bait. I think they view him as their center fielder in 2025. Look at the track record of players who the Yankees covet in their farm system. Volpe, shortstop. Austin Wells, catcher. Ben Rice wasn't a top 100 prospect, but he was not getting shopped out there the way people thought he was going to be. Catcher. If you look at the trend, it's catchers, it's shortstops, it's these premium positions. Spencer Jones can play center field. The Yankees believe he can play center field. That matters to them. They don't, if you look at what's hard to find on the market, Alex, I want you to look at the center fielders and the shortstops that are going to be available this free agency. name one notable one. Trent Grisham, Cody Bellinger, both from the Yankees. One of them, Grisham might not stick in center field much longer. Cedric Mullins probably can't hang in center field much longer. Shortstop, I mean, who's the notable shortstop for Asian? Bo Bichette? Probably is not going to stick at shortstop. Point is, like, they're not really plentiful. And even the big ones, think of the guys who signed a few years ago. Correa, do you like that contract? Do you love the Correa contract
Also injury
right now?
prone.
Story, do you like the Trevor Story contract?
Also has been injured.
Marcus Semien moved to second base the second he signed his deal. Good player, but, maybe not $175 million to like a 3-WAR player, 4-WAR player.
George Lombard Jr., baby.
Right, like you take Jazz. Yeah, but George Lombard Jr. is a what? A shortstop. Like these are players the Yankees covet because they know to get these kinds of players in the market, they have to pay above top dollar. They would much rather go out and say, all right, we could go pay whatever player we want. We can go try and bid for a Juan Soto. We can retain an Aaron Judge. We can go pay for a Garrett Cole. Go get a Max Fried. Maybe go get a Kyle Tucker. Those kinds of things. That's where the Yankees want to be throwing their money. Not in, we have to put $200 million in Trevor Story. They don't want to be in it. They kind of deplete their outfield depth just a little bit. Same goes for catcher because they have so much catching depth.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Spencer Jones element of this does kind of throw some questions into the mix, right? Because, conceivably, if you head into free agency next year and you believe Spencer Jones, you keep Spencer Jones. And at this rate, I am a proponent of keeping Spencer Jones unless you're getting like a Joe Ryan or somebody that's going to change the course of your season. I do think, you could arguably justify trading Jason Dominguez if you said, well, we're going to keep like 100%. We're going to keep Cody Bellinger, or we're going to make a massive play for Kyle Tucker. One of those two guys is going to be a Yankee long-term, and Spencer Jones is being promoted. And I know someone just recently asked, how good a defender is Spencer Jones? Ryan, I'll let you answer that because he is a freak athlete and he is a good defensive player. Like I'd say he has more upside than Dominguez defensively by a pretty fair margin. Am I wrong?
Yeah, much better defensive player, better at, like, I'm not saying this to also do like the whole, hey, trade Spencer because you need to make room, trade Jason to make room for Spencer Jones. Like, that's not how I feel about the situation. It's more so the Yankees, again, they don't want to trade Jason Dominguez. They don't want to trade Ben Rice. It's just that they're open to doing it because they believe they can potentially replace them for a situation where they can get a star caliber player. But yes, Spencer Jones can hang in center field. He's a better defender than Jason, better routes. He's also just like an insane athlete, and that helps him. Like,
huge guy, man. He's kind of Aaron Judge, but like you could argue faster and more athletic in some ways. It's kind of unfair, like the guy's 6'7" or 6'6". I forget which one, and he's fast. That's not fair. Like, that's not even a, it's because Jason's try. Like, if Jason was 6'7" and was as fast as he currently is, it'd be hard for him to be bad out there. He just happens to not be. It's just what, I would even go as far as say they'd be willing to move Spencer in the right kind of deal. I just don't think that deal for them exists out there because, as you mentioned, Joe Ryan is where it starts for a potential trade for Jason or Ben Rice for me. Like, it doesn't start with what, Mitch Keller? You trading Ben Rice or Mitch Keller? I'm not. Are you? No way. No. It's when you're looking at the situation, Spencer Jones, in my opinion, you're not trading him for relievers. You're not trading him for mid arms. Like, I'm not going to move him or a Ben Rice or a Jason for Mitch Keller. He's not good enough for me. For Joe Ryan, absolutely. We're talking about different caliber of player. And he's not a rental, right? Dylan Cease, no way. Like, I'm probably looking to move, if we're going to go after a guy like Dylan Cease, who I do think is a good fit for the Yankees, you're probably looking at like a JC Escara and like maybe like an Elmer Rodriguez Cruz combo, maybe get the party started. So, there are very few players I think you could justify trading these young core pieces for. Like, Ben Rice could be a core player at first base for a long time. Spencer Jones could be a core outfielder for a long time. Jason Dominguez could be a core outfielder for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, this is, these players are assets. These are not the type of pieces you flip for rentals or like middling utility pieces at the deadline. This is not the type of talent that you move. You move. Okay, the best way to say this: you move minor league talent that nobody knows what they're going to be. They have good stuff, but nobody really knows, right? Those are the type of players I'm pretty comfortable moving. But Spencer Jones, nobody really knows, but man, he has one thing, and it's elite power. He has elite power, and Ryan, you reported he's made adjustments recently, that have worked in his favor. So, I do think that he will translate, at least that power will translate to the MLB. There's not many players that are kind of worthwhile acquiring unless they become available. But, I don't know. I definitely think that right now the Yankees need at least two bullpen arms. And I would not be upset with a starting pitcher. I really like Cam Schlittler. I like Will Warren. But if one of those two guys we have to move to maybe get someone with a little bit less control, 2 years of control, that's going to be like a mid-rotation solid arm that could potentially start a playoff game for you, that might be something I'd consider. It's definitely not my preference, but beggars can't be choosers at the deadline. The Yankees are begging, my friends. They're begging hard. So, in terms of bullpen, Ryan, how many bullpen arms do you think the Yankees need? Who are your top guys right now? I'd say Jake Bird's up there for me. I really like him. I think that, the ERA is a bit inflated based on his metrics and underlying metrics, and the Rockies don't do many favors. Who are the guys that you're looking at? We need a high leverage guy that could close games for you potentially, and another high leverage to set up man type of guy, in my opinion, like a David Bednar, and maybe even a Jake Bird. Maybe those two guys would get the job done for the Yankees. Jake Bird and David Bednar. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to have to sit here and also add, when it comes to Jake Bird, David Bednar, look, Bednar is someone the Yankees like. Bednar is someone the Yankees are enamored by. They believe he is a, back of the bullpen, can be a closer in 2026. That's important to them, by the way. They want to bring in someone who can help them close in 2026, knowing that their two best relievers this season, Luke Weaver and Devin Williams, are both going to hit free agency. I also would like to point out, Alex, in regards to Jake Bird, that he plays behind the worst defense in baseball, according to defensive runs saved, at -61. So anytime we talk about, Jake Bird's ERA, you have to also factor in he's playing with an awful defense. There are plays that are supposed to be made behind him that are not getting made. I think they need two relievers. I think they'll end up with two relievers, at least two pitchers. It'll be interesting to see how they navigate the starting market. They have kind of cast a very wide net. There are a lot of players, Alex, out there who the Yankees are interested in. There are a lot of different arms that they're looking at. There is an expansive reliever market. There are a lot of guys who could get moved. We don't know who exactly is going to get moved, but we know that a lot of names will get moved or could get moved. They're going to be available and talked about for the next few weeks or next few days. Sorry. And the Yankees believe, hey, we can get some of these guys. We can walk away with two. We should walk away with two. That they want arms. I don't buy into the notion that this front office isn't all in. I just don't think they want to pay for rentals at the deadline. I don't think that's in their best interest either, especially for the bullpen. And the reason for that being, you already have two big ones. You don't want to have three or four, kind of know you're not going to bring one of them back. Any rental the Yankees bring in, Alex, I'm going to say it right now, good chance they're not coming back, right? So let's say the Yankees trade for Danny Collum of the Twins. He's probably not coming back. If the Yankees trade for Willie Castro, he's probably not coming back. Ahmed Rosario, he came in. He's not coming back, probably. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's I don't want to come off as a doomer. I don't think that's a doomer thing. But they're not going to bring these guys back probably, because you have to bring back potentially Bellinger. If not Bellinger, probably the only acceptable scenario where you don't bring back Bellinger is if you sign Kyle Tucker. You're probably going to try and bring back one of Weaver Williams. I imagine Weaver. They seem to Weaver's a fan favorite. I imagine that's going to be the guy they bring back, and he's cheaper. You're going to lose Grisham. You're going to lose. You might need more infield support. You might need another first baseman. You might need more pitching. I don't think they're going to go trade for another rental, Alex. Unless, of course, it's for nothing. Like Ahmed Rosario, or it was Clayton Beater. Sorry, he can go. I'm sorry. Wish for the best for him, but he can go. And Brom Martinez, who is a teenager. So yeah, don't think
Yeah.
rentals are in their priority. I think it's controllable guys.
For sure. Well, let's take a look at the chat here and answer some questions. If you guys have any players you want us to talk about, first up, D's channel, we'll talk about Dustin May. I know you mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast, but I figure maybe this is a good opportunity for us to kind of dive into a little bit more of the, I guess, advanced metrics, like why this, I guess you could say. Dustin May is 27 years old, right-hander. If the Dodgers are giving away pitching, I tend to say I don't really want to go after players that the Dodgers are giving away because their pitching is always injured. And if they don't want him, I don't really think we should want them, but maybe he does fit a specific role. Dustin May this season has a 4.85 ERA, but did not pitch last year, had a 2.63 ERA in 2023. The stuff is, I guess we could look at it, Ryan. I know you maybe have a different opinion than I do. The swing and miss stuff isn't there. 15th percentile whiff rate, 45th percentile strikeout rate, 15th percentile chase rate. He's getting some strikeouts, like I said, 45th percentile, so it's like just slightly below average. Does have a slightly above average ground ball rate, some decent extension, but the breaking ball is not bad. He's a sweeper sinker guy, so that is Matt Blake's thing. The sweeper is getting a 2.17 batting average and a 3.25 slugging, so it's not bad at all in terms of what the results are. The sinker, 285 batting average, but mostly, I just don't really think the sinker, like, what's the point of throwing a sinker if you're not going to get a high ground ball rate? 44.6% ground ball rate is not bad, but it's not high enough for me to be like lean more on it. I do think that the sweeper is a good pitch though. So, if they could get him for next to nothing and throw him in and tweak his pitch mix, maybe there's something there, but like, it's got to be for very, very little, like nothing. You got to get him for free almost. Ryan, like, what do you think about Dustin May? Why would that be an intriguing arm for you?
I'd only want him in a reliever role. I don't think it's there as a starter. And I think you need more than one. I think you need more than I've said this about a lot of guys at the deadline. Alex, what is Matt Blake going to do with a guy who you bring in and have starting in like 3 days? What's he going to do? Realistically, what's he going to do? He's good in a reliever role, in my opinion. Like, he'd be good in that. First time through the order this season, 3.72 ERA, let me pull this up here. 22.8% strikeout rate, 8.6% walk rate. What's the ground ball rate? It's 39%. Oh, that's weird. It's decent. He's decent. I mean, still not good. If there's something there, sure, but bring him as a reliever. I'd be interested in that. He's got wicked stuff. I want to pull up, though, right here real quick, Alex. We got a super chat from Rara. Thank you, Rara, by the way. Favorite young guys talking about baseball. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a great day. If you have any questions, send them our way. We will answer that. Yeah, Alex, with Dustin May, I think, and as a reliever, that's the only way I'm kind of sort of like, he could be cheap. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, if it was cheap, I wouldn't mind. And as you said, thank you so much, Rara, for the super chat. Any other super chats are always welcome and very generous of you guys. So we answer those questions priority as always, but nonetheless, we will answer all questions that come along. People keep mentioning Mackenzie Gore, but I do want to talk about one player, Shane Bieber. He hasn't pitched this year yet, but I know that's somebody that is intrigued. He didn't really pitch last year, to be honest, either. So it's been a couple of years. Is that someone that piques your interest? Shane Bieber, I know, probably coming off some major injury stuff, but maybe you want someone that's like in the kind of in the groove and in the rhythm and not someone that you have to build back up or maybe just take a chance on.
Yeah, Shane Bieber, I mean, he's rehabbing right now. I would take the flyer if that's the best we can do. Like, I'll be honest, like, I'll take him over nothing. And I wouldn't be upset about it. Like, I think the bullpen's a big need. I understand, the starter market isn't great. I don't want to, I get not wanting to do the go all in for Mitch Keller. I get it. I like Mitch Keller, but I get it. There are reasons not to. Shane Bieber's solid. Shane Bieber will do a job for you. He'll come in. We don't know how many innings he'll give you, but he has never been bad. He has never been outright bad at baseball. I think that's very valuable. You are getting a guy who has never been bad at the sport of baseball. His issue has been health, never performance. So even if he gives you the 3.80 ERA he gave you in 2023, like, would you take that from your 3 or 4 starter? Because I definitely would. He's fine. I think he's a more than fine arm. Yeah. But Mackenzie Gore is interesting because that was new today. That was new. Steep. I didn't see that before. What's up?
Steep is the word they use in terms of price. Steep
might be
steeping.
Steep is funny because it's more like your entire farm system. Now, would I trade Spencer Jones in a package for Mackenzie Gore. Like, I'm going to be honest, absolutely. You know what I mean? Mackenzie's awesome. 3.52 ERA this year, 29.3% strikeout rate. Last year was a solid starter, 2.5 years of control, throws gas, tons of swings and misses. I know there's some
Another
home run and I know he's another lefty and there's like some home run concerns here, but he's pitching with a garbage organization in the Nationals. What is Matt Blake going to do with this guy? I want to dream about what Matt Blake's going to do with this guy. So, I think that if you could get Mackenzie Gore, it's the classic. You love to not trade George Barr Jr., but you're probably going to have to make this deal done. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, Gore is a game changer. Similar, obviously Joe Ryan may be better, but Mackenzie Gore, like you said, control. He throws gas. Another lefty. Is a good player. I mean, that's someone I'd be like, yeah, I'd be floating Cam Schlittler plus to get a player like that. And Matt Blake could probably maximize him. So, I mean, going into the postseason, Ryan, with 3 left-handed starters as your primary guys would be interesting for sure. But then you get Garrett Cole back next year, and suddenly your rotation is absolutely sick with guys with full of control, which is pretty exciting because Mackenzie Gore obviously still in arbitration, I believe. So that would be a pretty nominal cost. And some other names being, I guess we can kind of rule out one of them coming up in a minute here, but what would you guys prefer, says Felix Eduardo? Appreciate the question. Kelly, Gallen, Keller, or Dylan Cease. So I guess Merrill Kelly, expiring contract, Zach Gallen, expiring contract, Mitch Keller, a couple years of control, and Dylan Cease, expiring contract. Right now, I think the Yankees, I know you're a Merrill Kelly guy. Keller's like good, not great, but we probably do more than Pittsburgh. Well, I like Dylan Cease. I think he's been extremely unlucky this year. The stuff is good. He gets lots of swings and misses. I think he's underperforming right now. I think that a change of scenery for him and just, averaging will see his numbers increase and improve. Who would you pick out of these 4 guys, Ryan? I know, honestly, they're all different in their own respects, but I kind of like Dylan Cease. I think that he would be a good fit for us.
Look, Dylan Cease is someone who I think, as you mentioned, very unlucky with the ERA, better pitcher than the ERA suggests. And he is the kind of guy where, you acquire him and you might actually consider bringing him back. Like, he might be one of the few guys you could bring in and say, okay, we're bringing him in and we might want to keep him. Where that's not the case with, again, like Danny Collum. I like him. I would love him, but is he coming? Is he going to stay? Are you going to re-sign Merrill Kelly? And is that going to affect what you're willing to give up? Look, the Yankees are willing to go up a lot for Juan Soto because they were of the opinion that they would do as much as they could control to bring him back. That was part of the comfort level. Now they didn't bring him back, but they were comfortable with that risk because they felt like they would be right in the thick of that, and I get, I get it. I get it. It's not, I get that why they were okay with him being a rental who they paid a lot for. But Merrill Kelly, for example, is he going to be the guy who you bring in and you re-sign? I like Merrill Kelly. I would love Merrill Kelly in the middle of this rotation, but is that going to affect what the Yankees are willing to give up? And is that going to affect what other teams are going to be willing to give up? Because guess what? They are. That's exactly what other teams are going to think of. And I think that's going to create this weird standoff. And the Yankees are going to hope and pray that, hey, we can kind of outlast some of these sellers because no one is gone yet. Who's the most notable player that we want on the Yankees that has gone off the market?
Nobody right as of right now.
Right? I'm not crazy. I don't think anyone's I guess you could say we're not in on Eugenio Suarez. I guess. Mm-hmm. I guess but he hasn't gotten traded. No,
he hasn't been traded. Yeah, and everyone is on the market currently. I think the 30th, 31st will roll around and bang, bang, bang is going to happen fast. Bang, bang. So, and I think the entire market is kind of being held up right now. With a couple days left, people are still trying to figure out if they're going to sell or buy, kind of where these teams land. But more importantly, that one big piece, once that one first big reliever comes off the market, it's going to be fire selling. We saw in the winter too. The second that big first reliever comes off the market, it's going to be a race to get them done. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's going to be a race. So we'll see what happens. But I certainly right now think that, Cashman has packages right now. He knows what they're going to cost. And it probably won't change much, for being quite honest with you. But Emmanuel Clase, that whole situation, now that he's been caught sports betting like a freaking idiot, that hurts the market a lot for us. You know what I mean? Because he was going to be traded, and now there's one less big name that can be acquired. And Ryan, that is not good for the Yankees because that means that the price is going to go up. There's more demand and less supply. So that is very, very bad. Yohan Duran, holy crap, he'd be amazing for us. David Bednar, amazing for us. But like those guys are going to cost a lot. So, but I will say this, Ryan. I will say this. If it comes between getting two big name relievers and then like a middling, like maybe mid to back end starter, would you opt to go a little bit higher in terms of quality of starter? Like maybe like, let's say a Zach Gallen versus a Merrill Kelly or a Dylan Cease in terms of expiring contracts.
Yeah.
And instead of going for two high leverage relievers, it's a one high leverage reliever and one good, like solid starter, or two high leverage relievers and one like back end starter. I think having the better starters probably in your preference, or it would be my preference, because it does mitigate the need for that bullpen arm. It does help protect the bullpen a bit more. I still think this team needs two bullpen arms, but it depends on how much they're willing to cost. So, I mean, Duran would be the dream. I know you're a big fan of his, but I think Bednar is probably the more realistic option if I had to guess right now.
Yeah, what I'll sit here and say is I think I'd prefer. So, this stuff. Okay. I'll say I think I'll take one starter, one high leverage reliever, because you can push a starter into the bullpen and then end up with two relievers. Like, I think I could live with that. But I mean, even get an experimental guy. Like, you see, this is why I think the Yankees are in on so many pitchers. Like, I expect the Yankees to be interested in Charlie Moore, I expect the Yankees to be interested in a lot of guys, because just walk away with arms, dude. You've got to walk away with arms. You've got to, like, if you end up with, I don't know, a guy to get you through 162, more and Dustin May are like guys to get you through 162 games. Not, hey, give him the ball in October, he's going to shove. But you kind of need that kind of player. You need that kind of player bad, man. You need it. You do. This staff needs it. You could go get arms. You can go get, let's say, a controllable reliever, maybe someone who they end up, I don't know, viewing as a project arm, even like someone who is a reliever who they think they can make better. I know Jake Bird isn't a reliever, but isn't a project guy, but I mean, someone with like one of those high ERAs and low FIPS. I don't care. You just need arms. You need people who can throw the baseball that isn't named Ian Hamilton, that isn't named Jonathan Loizaga, that isn't named Scott Efros. I hate to be that guy. I hate to be rude, but that's a scenario right now. That is really where we're at. And this is pretty funny. Interested, and this is a good buddy of mine, Empire State of Baseball. Rich is a good guy. Interested in the two most famous words this time of year. Alex, you're going to hear interested in and the Yankees and pitchers every single day. Every single day you'll see a new pitcher. It's 1 second it'll be Chris Paddock. The Yankees were in on Chris Paddock before he got traded. Of course they were. They're in on every pitcher. They need arms. So badly they need arms. And I think Cashman's just like, I'm going to shop at any point of the market where I can get him. I think he wants one of those top of the market relievers. We'll see if that price tag comes down, but they're going to get arms. I think they're going to get a good amount of arms, more than one for sure, probably two or three. That would be, I'd be happy.
This would be crazy. Yeah, I was going to say, like, if you walked away from the deadline with Dylan Cease, David Bednar, Dustin May, Danny Colum, Harrison Bader, Ryan McMahon, and Ahmed Rosario, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest hauls, trade deadline hauls, like I'd ever seen in my life. We're talking about what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. A lot of them impact players. Dylan Cease is a frontline starter most seasons. Bednar is a elite reliever. Dustin May is a toss-in. Like, you hope you can get some value out of him. Colum is amazing this year. Harrison Bader is an elite defensive player that's hitting quite well. And then obviously Ryan McMahon is an elite defensive player and, has some pop to his bat and, so forth. So this would be crazy in terms of haul, but I don't know, man. I do think the Yankees need another starting pitcher. You cannot go into September. You can't go into October. And I hate to say this because I like the guys, but you cannot trust Will Warren in a big time matchup. You know what I mean? Like a season defining matchup. I can't hand the ball to Will Warren and feel comfortable. I can't hand the ball to Cam Slittler and feel comfortable. I can't hand the ball to Marcus Stroman and feel comfortable. There are only a handful of guys on this team that I feel comfortable giving the ball to in high leverage moments, right? Those players are Max Fried. Even Carlos Rodon sometimes scares the absolute hell out of me. He'll give up like 3 solo homers. But I do feel good about him this season. I will give him the rock in a big moment. And Devin Williams has been excellent as of late. Those are the only three guys I really feel good about right now. You know, Ryan, like who else on this team, aside from those three players, those three pitchers, could you sit here and tell me, like, I feel good about those guys coming up big in a big moment? Fried, Rodon, Williams, who else?
I feel good about Cruz. I feel good about Cruz because he strikes out everyone. Like, I feel good about bringing a guy who like walks and strikeouts. He's just not going to allow contact. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes, man, you just need a guy where like you kind of know the ball isn't going to get put in play. Tim Hill is another one I throw in there. I like Hill against lefties, not as much against righties, but you know, he's good. He's reliable. He's solid. I'll say I think Weaver will get there, but I understand not putting him in that group.
Yes.
And that's basically
But if you added Dylan Cease and David Bednar, you could argue you now have almost double the amount of players you feel really good giving the ball into in critical moments.
If this is the deadline the Yankees have from here on out, which I think it'll be fewer players than 5, but let's say in this hypothetical, I mean, I feel good about Colum in a postseason spot. He's really good. Feel great about Bednar. Cease, I feel good about to make a game 2 start for me, which is huge. Having a guy who can make a game 2 start, make Rodon your game 3 guy. You're likely going to play a wild card series, so you have to factor that in. And then you look at Dustin May as like, all right, he's either going to make the playoff roster as a starter, maybe surprises you, comes out of nowhere, or he's going to maybe make it as a reliever, maybe just leave him off entirely. Point is, you can afford to say, hey, he's a free agent at the end of the year. If he's got to get cut, we can cut him. You know, like you're not beholden to Dustin May. It's not a beholden to situation. So if he's just another arm you throw in there because Brian Cashman's like, still got a surplus, still got Rule 5 guys I got to get rid of. Bring me Dustin May. Dodgers, you don't want him? Cool, we'll take him. We'll take him off your hands. That's fine with me. I don't want him as the guy you bring in to solve a hole. He's just he was there, right? He's better than Ian Hamilton, that kind of thing. That's fine with me.
Also, like if injuries pop up, at least you have some support. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll add another layer to this. You know, I talked about players in high leverage. If you are in the, let's say, even the wild card round, any playoff round, you can't tell me that, you know, you could say, well, you could move Cam Schlittler, Will Warren to the bullpen. I don't trust them in a bullpen role either. Their stuff is good enough to be in the bullpen, but Cam Schlittler just getting promoted this year, and he's throwing 100 miles an hour. Sure, that's great, but does he have the balls to step in? You know, in a game against the Astros, I'm just throwing a name out there, against the Astros in a critical postseason inning. Do you have faith that Will Warren and Cam Schlittler will walk into a game, despite how good their stuff might be, and shut them down in an inning that has to be, you know, has to happen? Like they have to get a blank spot. Is that, you know, are you going to opt for someone with a little bit more experience or someone with better stuff?
You know, the experience matters, but what I will say when we talk about like somewhat more stuff, like this is also an opportunity to maybe push in a Schlittler and Warren and get them comfortable in these spots. Because look, if you can never trust Will Ward in these spots, he can't be here long-term, right? And you look at kind of like Clark Schmidt's development. He was a reliever at times. He, in fact, pitched out of the bullpen in 2022. I know that didn't go well, but he still did it. You get what I'm saying? I think, you know, that sharpened him to eventually become a starting pitcher who was a quality one when healthy. Unfortunately, when healthy, had it stopped being a consistent thing for him after 2023. But for Warren, that's important for his development. For Schlittler, that'll be important for his development. And even for Warren, like, is that fastball 94, 95 in 1 to 2 inning outings? Because if it is, he's gross. For Schlittler, Alex, if it's 98, if it's 97, 99, touching 100 in a start, yo, what is it out of the bullpen, bro? Is that 98 to 99? Is that 100, 101, 102 maybe? What is it out of the bullpen? Point is, like, remember, these guys have good stuff, but it could get nastier in shorter spurts. The Yankees have to get these guys ready for these kinds of roles. Is it going to be Yarbrough? Is Yarbrough going to come in and be able to provide that for you? Who knows? But you have to be able to import enough pitchers where you've got options. Where, let's say your bullpen in October is, you know, Williams, Weaver, Hill, Cruz. There's only 4 guys in the current bullpen, injured or not, that I'm taking with me for sure. 100% taking. No question about it. That's 4. I need 4 guys, either internally or externally, to come in and step up. Maybe that's Yarbrough. Maybe Mark Leiter Jr. finally plays up to his underlying metrics. It's been a while, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's Warren. Maybe it's Schlittler. But I want to have more. I want to be able to have more than. I want to have 5.
You do have Luis Gil.
Well, let's say for the rotation for a postseason setting, it's Fried, Rodon, Heel, and a guy you trade for. And then the rest of the guys in this group, Warren, Heel, Warren, Schlittler, Yarbrough, they're extra starters. They're, auditioning for maybe even a start in the postseason or maybe a bullpen role. That's 3. For the bullpen outside of the 4 I just mentioned, so you bring in 2 guys there. So you got 6 guys taking you with you for sure for the postseason. You're going to put Leiter in the audition bucket. I think Loizaga is going to remain in the audition bucket. I think the Yankees will continue to audition him and see if he can be in that role because they like him. And, that is neither here nor there, but I think they will keep him in that competition. Yerry Del Santos and JT Brubaker. Del Santos has been fine. Brubaker's been better as of late.
He likes strikeout arms in the postseason.
Right. I'm just saying these are going to get to audition. They're going to get to fight for it. They're going to get to fight for that job. Maybe one of them stands out like a Tim Hill. Maybe one of them stands out like a Jake Cousins who broke out in this portion of the season. Point is, you want that audition bucket. You want really 2 spots or 3 spots you're auditioning for. And you want like six guys to audition for it. You want to be able to say 3 of them aren't going to make it, or 3 of them are going to make it if someone gets hurt. That's how many arms you need. You have a 13-man pitcher pool in the postseason. You want 17 you can take or 18 you can take because 4 of them are going to get hurt. 5 of them might get hurt. 2 of them might suck. You get what I'm saying? A couple of them are going to suck. A couple of them are going to get hurt, et cetera, et cetera. You need, if you're going to take 13 with you to October, you need 17 to 18 ready that you can take with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll say this. If you walk away from this trade deadline with Dylan Cease and David Bednar, you have 3 starters that you can trust, in Max Fried, Rodon, and Cease in the postseason. Cease has plenty of postseason work under his belt, especially in a really hard NL. That's another thing to throw into the mix here. He goes up against the best, teams in the NL frequently. And that is, something that I do believe will bode well for the Yankees, who need another real starter that can go out there and dominate in a really competitive AL East right now. So, I do think that, Cease makes a big difference for you. And I do think that Bednar changes the dynamic. And if you add 2 players like that, Ryan, you can look at the rest of your guys auditioning and feel good that a couple of them are going to emerge as quality, trusted pieces, right? Like maybe Will Warren can be a solid relief pitcher in the postseason. Maybe you look at Cam Schlittler and say, dude, just throw 100 gas in the zone. Like that's all we need from you. Throw 100 gas in the strike zone. Let batters try to catch up to that. If they do, it's unlikely. You know what I mean? Like there's a very low probability they're going to catch up to 100 miles an hour of pure gas, right? So you could say that Jonathan Loizaga, the stuff is good. The velocity is okay. It's just he's just serving up meatballs half the time that are getting absolutely clobbered for home runs. So, Mark Leiter Jr., you said maybe he comes back and has some sort of value. He did last year, came back and looked really, really solid in the postseason. Fernando Cruz, he has the capacity to be an elite arm. He was excellent for the first month and a half of the season. And then he was starting to pick up some injury concerns and then he spiraled. But, that splitter is untouchable for the most part. This team, if you add those 2 pieces, Cease and Bednar, I feel pretty confident they're going to have enough pitching the rest of the year. Right. And then they can recalibrate during the offseason. Would you agree with that? Like Cease and Bednar is enough?
I think it would really bolster the staff. Some underrated names I want to throw out here. Jojo Romero of the Colorado Rockies, the St. Louis Cardinals, 1.5 years of control, good lefty. It shouldn't cost you Spencer Jones or George Lombard Jr. I'd hope, I'd imagine, I'd pray, almost. Maybe I have to pray for that one. Point is, there are arms. There are teams who are 500. You can look at their bullpen. You can look, especially the bullpen, and go, hey, what's it going to cost for that guy? There's a lot of guys who could get traded. So I expect Cashman to be very creative with the bullpen. Rotation, it's hard to find an underrated starter because we've gotten to the point in society where every team kind of can track what are good pitching traits and what are not good pitching traits. But for relievers, it's a little bit harder to find because, there's a lot of them. There's just so many out there. If the Yankees can identify a guy where hey, this guy is profiling as a solid middle inning guy, but we think we can get a late inning outcome out of him, go get him in, go bring him in the building, go get that guy in the building. Let's see what it works like. And they have MLB pieces of trade. Ascaro's could be traded. I've mentioned Sean Newcomb before. I love this pickup because I've mentioned him as he's a rental. He's going to cost you nothing, I think. I hope. Maybe I'm wrong because he might be able to start some games and that might drive up his value. But point is, just get arms, import them, bring me as many arms as you can possibly bring in. I don't care if they suck and have a good FIP. I don't care if, some fans hate him. I don't care what the fan base likes and doesn't like. Just bring me arms. Bring me the arms that the organization likes. As many of them as humanly possible. I can live with Charlie Morton taking starts every fifth day over Marcus Stroman. I'll even go that far. Just get me arms. Get me arms. I need arms. You need 6, let's say 17. You need 17 arms you can take with you to October. So yeah.
I would agree. I think that, they're probably going to go get a right-handed outfielder as well. I think Bader seems quite realistic at this point. I don't know if they'll happen, but I do think that he does fill a need. And we're a very left-handed team, dude. Like, you look at yesterday's lineup, it was like the first 3 guys were lefties, So
yeah,
I forget, was it who led off yesterday? Jason or Ben? Or Ben Rice hit second yesterday?
Yeah, I think it was Grisham, Rice.
Oh, Grisham.
Bellinger.
It was Grisham, Rice,
Yeah.
Bellinger. And then Jazz is batting 5th usually, or even 4th sometimes. So you have 3, 4 lefties in the first 5. That against right-handed pitching is fine, right? But against left-handed pitching, like, you're in trouble. Like, you don't even have enough right-handed batters. So I do think they're well, I mean, you got Ahmed Rosario, so at least that gives you a little bit of cover. But they could use another player this season, just to give you guys a little bit of info on Harrison Bader this year so far. He's been very good, actually. 93 games, hitting 255, 336 OBP, 441 slugging, 12 homers. He's on pace to like either beat or finish with career high in home runs. He's not stealing many bags these days, but like, Bader has these weird like gaps of time where he's below average, and then suddenly he just has an explosive season. And then obviously defensively, he's still very, very solid this year so far. 995 fielding percentage with 10 defensive runs saved and 5 outs above average. I don't really know what Grisham has, but sometimes he looks so lazy running around the outfield. Like, yeah, he looks like he could be a little bit more proactive. He's a big, yeah. I mean, he's actually, I don't know if you know this, Ryan, he has -2 DRS and -1 out above average this season. Like, he actually he's not great.
A good defender. He's not a great defender anymore.
I think that we can kind of write off the well, Grisham's an elite defensive player now. Like, he's not. Like, you could argue he's below average at this point. Or at least average. He's probably an average defensive player. He's quite lazy sometimes. Bader gives you a defensive piece and a really solid offensive piece that the Yankees kind of need. So, what about this, Ryan? Let me float out a trade to you. What if they traded, and this is going to be kind of crazy. I just saw something similar on social media. I'm going to throw it your way. For Yohan Duran and Harrison Bader, the Yankees trade Jason Dominguez, Trent Grisham, and maybe another prospect. What do you think about that?
I don't think they trade Grisham because I don't think the Twins want Grisham. Like, he's a rental. Like, I get it.
Right.
But
just to offset, because Bader's also a rental, no?
Yeah, I'd trade Jason and prospects for that.
Yeah.
Like, I just would.
And
like,
just to clarify,
he's bad
we
at
are not,
center.
we are not saying this, Pedro. The stats are saying this.
I also think the eye test would say it. I think the eye if you watch him play center field, he's not the center fielder he was a year.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
I don't think that's even just like, if you look at the data, like as you mentioned,
in center, -2 DRS and -1
-1 fielding on value. I also don't like, maybe bad as a stretch. Like, he's just below average. Yeah. And eye test, like, he's just slower out there, and that's not his fault. He's just slower.
Yeah, he's definitely slower. He might be nursing some sort of injury, because like, he's noticeably like his jogging sometimes. His
sprint speed is in the 37th percentile. Back in 2022 was in the 88th percentile. So like,
okay, so he's just getting older. If that's the case, he's not that old. He's 28.
He's 28.
Young. He's my age. Dude,
but
he looks so much older than me. My God.
Do you see though why the Yankees are acting the way they are in regards to someone like a Spencer Jones? Because if you talk about Spencer Jones, he's a center fielder. And if you look at a guy like Trent Grisham, who you'd have to pay to play center field, you're going to pay for the 30s years. You're going to pay for you're going to pay for his least athletic year. You're not going to pay for his most athletic years. That's why premium positions, the Yankees value prospects there a lot. And they're going to give Spencer Jones a chance. They're going to let him play. Yeah.
And they should. I know he's dealing with back spasms right now, but I would have loved to see the Yankees call him up. I would have loved to see him play right now. I know Grisham's getting extra time here, but I don't know, man. I think Harrison Bader, trading Grisham and acquiring Bader isn't the worst thing in the world.
Oh, I would take that swap.
Yeah, I think I would do that too without hesitation. I mean, Bader's having a good offensive season, if not well above average. And the defense is straight up freaking elite. You know what I mean? Like Grisham's a good defender. Like, the eye test would suggest he's a good defender, but Bader is another level. Like Bader is a whole different just universe right now of defensive efficiency.
Also, depends on, so if Bellinger feels better in center than left, then you can put Bader in, if let's say Bellinger feels better in center, he's like, I'm reading the ball in center field a lot better. And I look at the defensive data. I think he's rather even at left and center. Like
he's been great in left though. I've
seen
him make some really nice plays in left.
But my point is, you can go up to Cody Bellinger and go, hey man, where do you feel better? Left or center? Where are you feeling good? Because you could say Harrison Bader plus 8 DRS, plus 4 outfield average and 400 innings there. Yeah, bro, you can go get some in center, or go get some in left. Go get some in center. Like you can mix that around. Like Bellinger this year, plus 2 fielding run value in center. He is better in left. So in that scenario, okay, you put like against lefties, Bellinger in left, Bader in center, Judge in right. You might, because you're gonna have to put. Look, let's say you end up with a Med Rosario at third outfield, for matchups against lefties. You know that defense is going to be bad there.
Yeah.
But your outfield defense is going to be elite. So, you're offsetting that defensive loss. Like on days where you're facing righties, your worst defender is Jason Dominguez. On days you're facing lefties, your worst defender is Med Rosario. But they're going to hit and they're going to run. And that's fine. Like you're fine because their platoon partners are elite defenders. That's huge. That's massive. That's unbelievable. That is the kind of roster flexibility. The problem is not that the Yankees have bad players. Is that they kind of have all their good players that they can't play together. Trent, Jason, Judge, and Cody Bellinger cannot all play together. They can't.
Yeah.
Against righties, who's the one you're permanently sitting on the bench every single matchup against righties? Because in the postseason, you're not going to do that mixed match. This guy plays, that guy doesn't play shit. You're going to play all the same guys. Who's the guy?
Yeah, and that's also assuming that Judge can play the outfield when he comes back,
right? But my point is, whose ass are you gluing to the bench? Jason, Grisham, Stanton, which one of the three, or Rice?
Man, it's tough. I
guess one of their asses.
Let's assume there's a right-handed pitcher. Jason's a negative defensive value. Better than Stanton. I mean, he's worse than Stanton because he's negative, right? So you could argue Stanton's actually more valuable. I would say I'd have to bench. Grisham's been really good this year. I think you might have to bench Jason.
So maybe? You're gonna not just, you have to glue his ass to the bench basically because he can't play against lefties.
I guess you probably could. You would maybe Rice. I guess that, I don't know. But it's hard. It's tough.
Exactly. So the Yankees are looking at that and saying, what good is it to have one of these guys if we're just going to glue their ass to the bench all postseason? Jason can't come off the bench for you and be a fourth outfielder. What utility does Jason have outside of being a pinch runner?
Not much.
Can't play defense. You don't want him out there. In fact, if you pinch run him, if you run him for Stanton or you run him for someone else in your roster, he cannot stay on there. You have to sub someone in. You have to burn 2 bench players. Don't want to do that. What you'd rather have is say, okay, Jason's my guy against righties. Jason and X, whatever player is my guy, or maybe Grisham, they're my guy against righties. The other guy isn't here, and then you bring someone who's going to be that guy versus lefties.
Dude, Bader makes a lot of sense. The more we talk it out, like Bader does make a lot of sense because I'd also argue this, right? You already got Ryan McMahon. Ryan McMahon is an elite defensive third baseman. Jazz Chisholm is an elite defensive second baseman. Paul Goldschmidt, let's say, is average. He's a good first baseman. He's had a lot more good than bad this year. Volpe's been, we could go down that rabbit hole, but I think we can all just kind of make the assumption that he's been average, below average this season, which is unfortunate, but we know he can be better. If your outfield is Cody Bellinger, Aaron Judge in right, and Judge is in center, or rather, not Judge, Bellinger's in left, Bader's in center. And then you go with, McMahon at third, you have Volpe, Jazz, and Goldschmidt. Your defense on paper is exponentially better, right? Bader is that good. In center field that he's going to make a difference and it's going to be noticeable. And Bellinger is that good in left that it's going to be noticeable over Jason Dominguez, and it's not going to be close. You know what I mean? That equation there gives you the right-handed bat so that you don't have to glue one of those lefties to the bench. And I know people don't want Bader. I'm seeing the comments from Eddie. We already did that once. We're not talking about Bader as an everyday player in reality. We're talking about him platooning, really. Right. So don't look at this and say, oh, hey, we're looking at him as an everyday starter. No, we are platooning Bader against left-handed pitching and as a defensive asset that you could deploy in the 9th inning of a playoff game when you need a big play and you need a clean inning, and there's a ball in the gap. And I can assure you Trent Grisham's not getting there with 36 percentile speed, but I can assure you that Harrison Bader's getting there. You know what I mean? And Bader makes that play and wins you a playoff game. That's what we're talking about, right? That's what we're talking about. So I do think that, that is where we've talked about it. Bader makes a lot of sense and Grisham makes a lot of sense to go because you can't bench Jason completely. You can't bench Ben Rice and you don't want to sit Stanton. He's DHing and, it's a lot of moving parts here, but you're right. Bader does open up the equation for you substantially to be a little bit more flexible and platoon and be a little bit more strategic with how you deploy these pieces.
Yeah, it's just about having guys like you don't want to have someone who's permanently glued to the bench. You can't have that. You can't have that if you want to win baseball games. And I say that not to be, all Trent Grisham's this, Jason Dominguez is that, but let's the Yankees roster, you can't have guys who are not going to do anything for you. You cannot have that. And if you can turn one of those into a player who can play for you in the postseason, that's great. That's what you want. It's redundant to have Trent Grisham and Jason Dominguez on the same roster. It is. They both can't play in the same situations. They both can only play in the same situations. Tagged on with Ben Rice, can only play in certain situations, probably in the postseason against righties. I can learn to trust him against lefties. I think the at-bats are good, but, I get why. But Stanton's going to play every day against at DH, and Goldschmidt's going to hit against lefties at first. You have that luxury. But point is, you can't do this outfield thing in the postseason. You can't do that. You just can't. I don't know how else to say it. You just can't. You can't. You're not going to be able to go to the postseason and say which one of Jason or Grisham might glue in their ass to the bench. Feeling if Ben Rice can't even be part of this conversation because he plays first and DH is covered by Stanton now. So that's no longer part of the equation here. I don't want the Yankees to have to turn one of their 13 roster spots into pinch run only. Defensive sub only. Don't have room for that in the postseason. You just don't. So yeah, I think that the Yankees are gonna. I think one of those two guys might go. It's just kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we've covered a lot here.
Yeah,
and we're gonna have a lot more to say in the coming days. And obviously, if you're a fan of the podcast, we drop podcasts every day about these topics, about these players, and you might not be able to find as good analysis as we're delivering on this channel. You will not. And you will not find the prospect information that Ryan has in his noggin. So you're going to want to be here for that.
You're shouting a little too much for me. It's a we. We are great. I think we're great at what we do.
That's absolutely true. But I hope you guys, enjoyed it. And Ryan, since you're the master of this podcast
I'll wrap this
episode, I'll let you wrap it up for us.
This is a big deal, guys. This is a big deal. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page using the handle @FireSideYankees. It's right there. I know Alex's name isn't on the graphic. That's my bad. It's @AlexWilsonESM, but you guys should know that already. And of course, check me out at Ryan Garcia ESM. Check out the website, EmpireSportsMedia.com, for written coverage on all of your favorite New York sports teams, including but not limited to the New York Yankees. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.